I just felt like, what am I doing? Like, all I'm doing is in the morning and at night, I'm reminding myself that my hair's falling out. I have to be in front of the camera a lot, and I was doing the hat thing, and I think this is what I wanted to stress the most is when I was talking to people was that like nobody cared. You
Yeah.
know, like they saw my hair and they were like, yeah, all right, sure, you're thinning a little bit. But I don't. If you didn't say anything, I wouldn't have said anything. Nobody cared. But for me, every day looking in that mirror, I cared. And that was so important, you know? And so I had the choice. I had the choice to, you know.
How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to the Baldcafe podcast. This is episode 29, and we've got Tristan here on the podcast, joining us from New York. Tristan, thank you first of all for reaching out and agreeing to come onto the podcast.
Yeah, of course. I'm really happy to be here, actually.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. And it started because, you reached out to me and you'd seen what I was doing with these podcast episodes. And you got quite the story yourself, spanning over a good few years, lots of ups and downs. And you're here to share it today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I saw your, I was looking up, I ran across your channel when I was looking up different methods of how to grow your hair.
Right,
I
okay.
was looking up Rogaine. I was looking up, testimonials and how people were feeling about it because it was at a point where people had told me, here, I'll back up a little bit for you.
Yeah.
I don't have any brothers in my family. I have 5 sisters. And my dad doesn't have any balding and he doesn't have any hair thinning. And actually, no one in my family that I've ever seen has had thinning.
Yeah.
And I even have a DNA test that says I won't have thinning hair or go
really?
balding. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. And, I never thought it was going to be a thing. But the signs were there as I was getting older. I would go. I had like a hairstylist that I loved to go to because hair was like super important to me. Like I always had the craziest hairstyles to where the point where like my mom or my grandmother would yell at me and be like, "What are you doing? This is crazy. You can do normal hair." And I was like, "No, this is me. This is me." So
Yeah.
that was like like this hair is me, and that was where so I would go to the the barber. Yeah. And he would tell me, oh, the back is starting to thin a little bit.
Right.
And now I can't see the back of my head, right? And so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, right. And he was like, well, it's fine. We'll cut it this way so you don't even see it. And honestly, he would cut it in a way where you never saw it. And then I'd say 2 years ago is when something just started happening where I just started to like I could literally see hair falling onto my desk.
Wow.
Every day. Like when you're on your phone and the screen is black.
Yeah.
I could see pieces of hair as the day went on my phone.
Wow.
And I was like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I was sick. I thought, something was going wrong in my body. Because, nobody in my family has ever had to struggle with hair loss. And so nobody really had any advice for me.
Yeah.
And so, I went to a bunch of doctors and finally I went to this one doctor, that I trust a lot. I was having an outbreak of like acne at it's so funny. I never had acne. And then I had like an outbreak of acne as a 35-year-old. And I was like, what the hell is this? So I went to a dermatologist and, as a secondary question, I asked him, I said, can you look at my hair? Like, am I losing it? And he goes, well, we don't really have time for that, but yeah, you have male pattern baldness. He's like, you're starting to crown here and you're losing it in the back. And I was like, okay, is there anything I can do about that? And he goes, he's like, yeah, you can try Rogaine. He's like, but you have to, use it all the time. The minute you stop using it, it won't work.
Yeah.
And it basically just everything will fall out all the progress you've gained.
The thing that you've held on to for that long, will fall out.
Yeah. And then he said, do not do Propecia.
Okay, so he advised you against it.
He advised me against it, like strongly advised me against it. And this is a very, very good doctor in New York, like a very well-renowned, dermatologist in New York. He said, the problem with Propecia is that there is a study that's happening where, and they haven't released it, to the public exactly. And he said about 90% of people are getting a side effect of male infertility and the inability to, get an erection.
Yeah.
And he's like, so if you're feeling uncomfortable about your hair right now, and it's, imagine if you don't have hair and you can't do that, right? So let's take away all the manlyhood, right? Like at that point. And so I listened to him, and I trust him, and I was like, okay, I won't do it. I'm not going to try it. And I'm very sensitive to drugs anyway. So I was like, let me not go down that route. And so that was the first moment in time where I kind of went, okay, this is real. This is happening, and I'm going to have to figure this out.
The signs you said you got, you're sat at your desk and you can noticeably see it falling as the day goes on. Did you notice any other things like with the hair? I don't know, when you were washing it in the shower, did it feel thinner, or when you were styling it? No.
No, I mean, I've always had very thin hair. Like I've never really had like super thick hair. It's always been kind of thin, but that's something that kind of goes along with being blonde. Yeah. And so I never really questioned it. And I never could really see the back that much. And the back isn't that bad. Like, honestly, if I weren't to shave my head right now, I would still have hair. It's not about how bad it was. It's about how bad it felt to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's where, like, when I heard, a bunch of the people talking on your podcast, I was like, oh my God, yes, I resonate with you people 100%. Like there is no one that I talked to. I was on set actually before I shaved my head for the first time. And I was talking to a guy because this is when I first started to notice, right, that this was starting to pull back.
Okay. Yes. You've been to the doctor. He's confirmed the fears, right? And now you're at this place. Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm shooting behind the scenes footage for a film, and one of the actors had some pullback on his hair.
Okay, yeah.
And we made friends throughout the film, and so I felt comfortable asking him, and I said, "Hey, are you balding? Like, do you feel like you're balding?" He goes, "Yes." And I was like, "Okay." And like we had this moment where we like all of a sudden we were now best friends.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, we were like, "Yeah, okay." And I was like, "Is this happening?" He's like, "Yeah, this is happening." I was like, "Did you try this?" He's like, "Yeah, I tried that." And I was like, "Oh my God." Yeah. And we just had this moment, and it was, you could literally see the angst in his face when he was talking about it, and how it was really affecting him because he really wasn't ready to let go of that hair, right? And neither was I, because at that point I still had, I'd say 3-4 inch long hair at that point.
Right.
And before that, the year before that, I had my hair down to here.
Okay.
So. Yeah, I've always had very long, crazy, like either spiked up crazy or pulled back into a ponytail.
Right.
And so what I did after I talked to him, and then I actually went on Facebook and I posted, hey, do any of my guy friends have male pattern baldness?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I figured, since none of my family did, like maybe somebody could give me an idea of like what. Like I kind of was like, do you like my hair like this, or do you like my hair like this? And I had shaved it when I was younger.
Okay.
Just for fun.
Yeah.
And I remember the minute after I got it shaved when I was younger, like 2 minutes later, and I looked in the mirror and I went, oh fuck, I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I was like, I'll never shave my head again.
Oh, really?
But the good part is that I had a reference photo. So I had kept those photos, and so I posted on Facebook a picture of me shaved and then a picture of my current hair. And I also posted on Instagram as well to my friends. And I did like a poll, and I asked, which one do you like better? And then, every majority of the people hit hair.
Yeah.
And so that made it worse, right? And so what I did was I followed it up and I said, okay, now who's man enough to like tell me why?
Yeah.
Because people are easy to hit that button, but like give me a reason.
Yeah.
And majority of the reasons, and I'll tell you a lot, a lot of the people were women. And the majority of the reason was they said it made you look younger. It made you look, more attractive as a man.
Yeah.
And all these reasons were just making it worse.
Interestingly, you said that you posted it on Facebook. You did the poll, and then did you reach out to and ask, like, well, is anyone losing their hair?
So what happened is a bunch of my guy friends reached out to me.
Right.
And they said, hey, dude, this is normal.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean it's normal? And they're like, yeah, like I'm losing my hair too. And I was like, what? Because I'm 35, so I didn't think this was a thing. Like I know a lot of people lose. You have some extreme stories on your podcast where people are losing it at like 16 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In my brain, I had rationalized hair loss as something that would happen to like 50s, 60s, right?
Yeah.
So at 35, I was like, oh my God, how is this happening so soon? And all my 35-year-old guy friends started messaging me and being like, yeah, dude, I lost my hair. I'm starting to lose it. And he's like, and that's when I started to get the recommendations. And that's when people were like, hey, have you tried Rogaine? There are, have you tried this? Even the dermatologist actually said to me, he said, in your lifetime, there will be a cure for male pattern baldness. He's like, I guarantee it. Like, I mean, obviously take that with a grain of salt, but like, he follows it, I assume. And so he knows what, the science behind it is happening. But either way, it was like, there's nothing right now. And, my friends were like, hey, try Rogaine. So I decided, with all these guys saying, I have it, I've gone through it, and Rogaine worked for me. I was like, cool. All right, let me, and so I got some.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Rogaine. So I didn't even think about it because I just assumed if you're putting something on your head, right? It's just to me that's like putting moisturizer on your face, right? Like you're just putting a moisturizer and it's just affecting this part of your body. Rogaine is a chemical that is using the old school methods of absorbing to your bloodstream through your head.
Yeah.
And now I suffer from anxiety.
Okay.
And what I didn't realize because I didn't even read the back of it. Like all I did was read the instructions. And I didn't go online and Google like what are some of the side effects of Rogaine. I didn't think there would be any. I thought it was just going to make my hair grow back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for the first couple of days, I felt horrible. My whole face was flush. My skin, I was sweating. I was having random like massive panic attacks, and I don't get them anymore. Like I'm very much under control of my anxiety now.
Yeah.
And so for this to be happening, I was like, whoa, like what? Something's happening. What changed? And I was like, shit, I just started putting Rogaine on my head, and that's when I did the research and I looked it up, and I was like, oh my God, this is literally stimulating into your body, into your blood, and changing things that are going on. And I have to put this on not only in the morning, but I have to put this on at night as well. And it was like, at that point, I went under the shower and I washed my hair, and I was just like, no, I can't do that. And not to mention, like, even without the side effects, the couple of days that I did it, I just felt like, what am I doing? Like, all I'm doing is in the morning and at night, I'm reminding myself that my hair is falling out.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. That's an important point of it. Yeah.
It didn't feel like I was actually solving the problem. It actually felt like I was making the problem worse. I was prolonging the problem,
Exactly. Yeah. No, just quickly, that's the thing I talk about a lot when you choose to go down that road of, a lot of people say that if you shave it off, it's like giving up, right? But the only thing you're giving up is the worry and that whole series of using different things to try and hold on to it. Because when you go down that road, you're not only holding on to the little hair that you have, but holding on to, like you said, all of that fear, all of that worrying, all of that anxiety about the hair loss. No, you're completely right.
And add on top of that actual anxiety caused by Rogaine, and you've got a pretty messy combo there. So After I did that, I actually called my dad and I talked to him about it. And I was like, hey, I tried Rogaine and it threw my anxiety through the roof. And my dad doesn't quite understand it, but he listens, right?
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that if he doesn't know the answer, he doesn't say anything. But then a couple of weeks later, he'll be thinking about it because he wants to be your dad, right? He wants to be supportive, which is really cool. And he came back to me the other day, actually. So it took him a couple of months, but he came back to me the other day, which I thought was great. And he said, "Hey, I just read an article about Rogaine," and he said, and I talked to a couple of my friends that tried it because he's starting to lose a little bit of his hair now,
Right.
but he's in his late 60s. He's like he's almost 70. Right. And he's still got a lot of hair. Like he's just thinning. He's not like losing hair. Right.
Just completely normal. Yeah. When you get out, like pretty much every guy is thinning a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. At that age, it's like, okay, this is normal. Right. And so he told me, he said, I was talking to he was talking to his hairstylist. I guess we have like this thing in my family where we talk to our hairstylists about this stuff. You know what it is? We all find a hairstylist that we really like and we stick with that person for years. Anyway, so he's talking to him and he said, yeah, the amount of people that have started Rogaine and then just the minute they stop, they lost all their progress and it made it worse for them.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't even count that on I don't even recommend it anymore. He's like, it's just not worth the amount of effort. And even my dad was like, and I totally get you, man. Like, I wouldn't want to put that on in the morning and the night. Like, what if I go swimming in the middle of the day? Like, do I have to put it on again? Or, is that doubling up? And it's like all these things, it just was too much. Right. So at that point, it was getting to I was actually asked to be on a reality TV show.
Okay.
And I did an interview with them and I had my hair all spiky and it looked cool and I thought I looked cool. But I felt like crap inside. Like I really didn't feel good about myself.
Is this because of the hair loss?
Because of the hair. I honestly felt like so I'm on camera a lot for my job and, I have a YouTube channel like you. So it's like, I have to be in front of the camera a lot. And I was doing the hat thing.
Right. Okay.
And I've always done the hat thing. Like I love hats. Like I even with it shaved, I'll still wear hats because I like them. But it was to the point where I wouldn't get on camera unless I had a hat on because if someone got me from this angle or someone got me from like that angle or nobody else was noticing it. And I think this is what I wanted to stress the most is when I was talking to people was that like nobody cared.
Yeah.
Like they saw my hair and they were like, yeah, all right, sure, you're thinning a little bit. But I don't, if you didn't say anything, I wouldn't have said anything. Nobody cared. But for me, every day looking in that mirror, I cared. And that was so important, and so I had the choice. I had the choice to, keep this hairstyle or to shave it. And I think there was something in my brain that I didn't want to do this reality TV show. And so that night after I got off that interview, I looked down and there was my shaver.
Yeah.
And my hair was about 4 or 5 inches long at that point.
Yeah.
And I just I went into the bathroom and I went, screw it. I just took off a big slice. I was like, no turning back now.
Yeah.
And I looked in the mirror when I was done, and I tell you something, and I don't. This is the thing that I think some people don't understand when you first shave your head. I hated it.
Right.
I hated it 100%. I didn't recognize myself.
Yeah.
I was like, who the hell is this guy? And on top of that, I posted a picture in a Discord channel with some of my friends, and one of my friends goes, "Oh, you look like Homer Simpson."
Yeah.
Like he wasn't meaning it in a mean way, right? He was just making a joke.
Yeah, a throwaway comment for him.
Right.
Yeah.
But like at that moment in time, it was like a dagger, right? Like it hit so hard, and I was like, shoot, man, like I don't know how to I don't know what to do now. Like, do I grow it back? So I kept it shaved. I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it a little bit of a shot. And so I gave it about 3 months, where I kept it pretty short. And then I was like, I could still grow it. I'll grow it back. And so I started growing it back. And when your hair is that short, that's when you can really see where you're starting to lose it, right?
Yeah.
And so I could see in this area where it was going. This isn't as bad as this area. Although the funny thing is that I have the hair in this area.
Yeah.
It's just very thin, and I'm blonde.
Yeah, it's probably, I've got a similar thing. We probably got very similar sort of balding patterns where it's not really, it didn't start going too bad at the front here, just this part here, and especially at the crown, just super thin,
Yeah.
So like this, likewise, if I grow this out for 2-3 days, there's plenty of hair here to sort of give a bit of resistance.
Yeah.
But if it goes for like a 1 week or 2 weeks, I guess where you were when you were growing it back out, that's when it gets really obvious, because all this round here is a lot thicker hair.
Yes.
And that's
yes,
when it becomes really clear that you're balding. Yeah.
Yep. Like this grows out like as if I am not losing any hair. And then this in this center area is thick as a rope.
Yeah.
And then in the front is where I get the wispy feeling hair.
Yeah. Really thick,
and where
yeah,
as it's growing, it kind of like splits. And then in the back, I do have hair there, but it's so thin at this point, and because I'm blonde, it's just impossible to not see it. You just see right through it, even though the hair is there. And it's funny because when I touch my head with it shaved, I can feel the hair. When you have that against the grain feeling when you shave your head, there's hair there. It's just a lot thinner, so it's just not visible when it grows.
Yeah. Before you go on to talking about growing it back out, I just want to jump back really quickly to when you were speaking about the reality show and when being on camera. So you mentioned there that, other people didn't notice unless you point that out. But for you, was it that then obviously became the wearing the hats was, if you knew you had to be in front of the camera, was that like your first thought? Like, okay, well, I need my hat because, I don't want someone to see this.
I mean, I was at Christmas with my family where you shouldn't even care about what you look like, right?
Yeah.
And I knew that they were doing like little phone videos, right?
Yeah.
And somebody got a shot from behind me while I was opening a present, and all I could look at was not that moment, like that really cool moment at Christmas with my family. I just saw my hair loss here. And I was just like, son of a bitch. And I know it's not that bad. Like I knew I was, and this is where I felt bad about feeling bad. This is like, see how it compounds? Like I felt bad because other people have it worse, right?
Yeah.
Like I wasn't really losing my hair that badly, but to me, it felt like the end of the world.
Yeah. No, I can relate 100%. And not to take away, but I'll actually, when we put this on the YouTube, I'll put a picture up of myself. And this, I haven't spoken about this before, but I have a picture, and I'll put it in the video, of my hair loss, and you can see it, and it looks so slight. Like just the crown area is, like you said, just wispy, and it's sort of a lighter color. And someone might look at that and think, you crazy, like it's not even, you're hardly going bald. Like, how can you be so worried about it at that point? But I can tell you, even then, that just a slight amount of balding, like physically, the way it looked, not that bad. But in my mind, it's like all it's all I could think about. And it, same like you, it used to ruin moments when, my girlfriend at the time would be like, let's take a picture or something. I'd be like, yeah, like maybe not, or get the phone like down here so it's not going to pop, just crazy.
Yeah, no, I relate to that 100%. It's just, it's everybody feels it so differently, and but everybody feels it the same. Let me say it again. We all go through it very differently, but we all feel the same way.
Yeah.
And it's like if you were to look it up online, they compare hair loss in men to postpartum depression in women after pregnancy. And that to me was like, oh, okay. Like, cause I had, I talked to some of my girlfriends about it, and they were like, they were like, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. You're stressing. Oh God, you're so OCD and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, and then I talked to guys
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I'm not overreacting.
Yeah.
This like crippling fear of what is happening is not out of the ordinary. And that helped a lot, actually, to know that there was other people that felt the exact same way.
And I wonder, you mentioned there you spoke to that actor and you had that moment, where, oh, is this happening? Yeah, it's happening to me too. And that, that's such a good feeling when you have people to relate to. And hey, maybe that was, when you were making that Facebook post, you mentioned you didn't have family you could sort of talk to. It must have been the same thing, maybe looking for other guys out there, like, who else is going through this? And I think, well, actually, that's why these videos and I think this channel has done so well, and people find it so helpful, because a lot of people for the first time are seeing other guys talk about it, and they said, oh, I'm doing all those things too,
Right. And for me, it wasn't the progress of my hair to where it is now, like full shaved, that didn't happen right away.
No.
I went very slow. I at first I cut it, to like a crew cut, and then I tried like a different crew cut, and then I did it with the electric razor, but like at the highest possible level.
Okay, yeah.
And then one day I was at the barber, and I was tired of it grows fast.
Yeah.
That's something people don't tell you, is that when you shave your head, even though you're losing hair, your hair still grows super fast. And actually, the shorter it is, the faster it grows.
Yeah.
And so I went to the barber one day, and I was like, look, dude, I'm getting tired of shaving it. Like, can you just do it with a straight razor and let's just see what it looks like?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think it's important that people do that with like if you go to a barber and you have someone that sorry, hold on.
It's okay. These hairstyles that you mentioned there, is that after the initial buzz off and you grew it back?
Yeah. Okay. When I first shaved it, like when I first buzzed it after that interview I was telling you about, I had, I call it the summer from hell. It was one of those summers where everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Right.
I gained a ton of weight. I had 2 family members pass away. I had 2 cats pass away. I had, like, everything was going wrong. And then my hair is literally falling on my desk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and so that's what led me to the doctors and stuff like that, because that's where I was like, oh my God, am I causing this?
Yeah.
Is the stress getting to me? Because that can happen. You can stress out and lose your hair. I mean, I got to the point where I thought I was gonna lose my eyebrows, and I was turning in. I was getting alopecia? Is that what it is, or something?
Yeah, like alopecia. Of course, different types of alopecia, but I think they call it alopecia like totalis, where like
I thought that was gonna happen to me. Like I was so freaked out at that point. And when I get bigger, like my face kind of grows more than like some guys grow it in their belly. I grow it in my face.
The way it goes to the face, yeah.
And so when I shaved for the first time, it probably wasn't the best time to do it.
I understand.
Because not only was I not comfortable with my own body at that point, I wasn't comfortable with the new hairstyle.
Yeah.
And every day I would wake up and I'd look in the mirror and I was just like, oh, like I'm single. And so I was just like, how are you going to meet someone? Like, you look like a 50-year-old man. Like nobody's gonna, you don't look like the young, strapping hipster dude anymore with your, man bun. Although I never had a man bun, just for the record. I know you're going to show pictures of my hair and it's going to look like a man bun to a lot of people, but it is not a man bun. It is a freaking ponytail. I did it before they did it. All right. Just clearing the record, because I know you're going to show those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't feel good. And so I figured I started taking steps in the right direction, because, you can only do so much at once, right? Everything starts to pile up like that. And so I started doing fitness.
Okay. So you've basically then all of this stuff is going wrong at the same time. Okay. And then you've tried to like go with the buzz. You hate it. You think it looks bad. So really that was like your rock bottom with it. And
Yeah, that was it.
and then you kind of, something must have changed then in your sort of, you know, in your psyche or whatever, to make you think, to reflect on it and say, okay, how are we going to change this? Can you pinpoint anything that might have done that? Was there an event, or was it just all the build up of this stuff?
It was a combination of the build up, and it was also the amount of time that went by. I think time had a big thing to do with it. So I was dating someone. I actually found someone to date, believe it or not, without hair. Oh my God, who would have thought? But I was growing my hair back a little bit because I was like, I'll see if it'll grow back. I was still in that, fluctuation period. And I remember all the videos of us and stuff like that. I all I could see is the
bald spot.
The bald spot. That's it. That's all I could see. I couldn't enjoy any of our videos together. And I couldn't understand why it didn't bother her.
Yeah.
And it was weird. But what I did notice, and you bring up the fact that I posted on Facebook a lot, because when I asked people after they answered my question about why did you like me with hair versus not, and they basically did the generic society norms of vitality and strength and virality and youth and all that stuff. Just Google it. Google hair and what it means. Yeah. And that's what you find, and that's what people think, and it's not something that's accepted by society. As it's more accepted now than it was way back. Now it's people shave their heads that aren't balding, and it's damn awesome. Yeah. But when you have to shave it, that's a different thing. Yeah. And so
there's still, though, like you said, with society and the most general sort of public, especially if they know nothing about male pattern baldness, it's not in the family. Yeah, they do still have all of those assumptions if they see like a bald guy or balding guy.
Yeah, and I felt like I lost a little bit of my. I felt like I lost a little bit of who I like, of my my identity.
Yeah.
And I say that because I'm from an Italian family. My entire family is dark hair, dark eyes, very short. I'm the only albino, blonde hair, blue-eyed person in the entire family.
Right.
And I really liked that. And to have to shave off that identifying feature, was like, well, crap. And then, not to mention, all my haircuts were so crazy over the years that, like, now how do I separate myself from everybody else? How do I look, the way I want to look? And I'm not a suit guy, and I see a lot of guys, if you look up who has the best hairstyles and you go online, it's always the dudes in the suits.
Yeah.
Because you look good. If you have a shaved head and you have a suit, that is a good look.
Yeah.
It is a great look. But that's not me. I'm a comfy, casual guy.
Yeah, me too, to be honest.
And you know what I've actually learned, and it's funny that you have a sweatshirt. I have a sweatshirt. I don't know if you can see it, but I have a hoodie too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that hoodies actually look really good with a shaved head. Yeah. Which is great because I'm like really comfortable in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to go back onto where it kind of culminated and how it basically evolved is that when I grew it out a little bit more, it took a lot longer, right? And I just, as I was growing it out, I realized that the process of me growing it out meant that I wasn't accepting what was happening. And I kept waking up in the morning, looking in the mirror when I didn't have a hat, right? And being like, I don't like what I'm seeing. And it was on my mind so much. Like it was bothering me 24/7 to the point where I was like, why am I doing this? And so I followed up the questions again on Instagram, with one of those little stories with a, answer this question type of thing.
Yeah.
And I said, would you prefer a guy that was confident and had shaved their head, or would you prefer someone who was balding a little bit but felt like shit inside?
Yeah.
And I know that that's like a loaded question, right?
Mm.
But the funny thing is that 50-50, there was no answer. People were like, I still want the hair.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? That was where my brain went. Why am I asking other people about how I feel?
Yeah.
And that was the moment where I went to my hairstylist one more time, and I said, okay, I want you to try this hairstyle that I saw. It was like the Deadpool hairstyle where he's got real short hair, and I was like, let's see if we can pull that off. And if you can, and if we can't, I'm gonna shave it. And so we tried, and I lasted 2 days with that hairstyle. I thought it looked awesome in the beginning. I posted pictures on Instagram. All the girls that had said something, they were like, "Oh, that looks great." And yeah, and then and then I would wake up in the morning and it wasn't styled right, and there it was again.
Yeah.
And so I went, you know what? I'm done with this. And I went out and I bought a T-blade razor, so it gets really short hair, right?
Yeah.
And that was my first introduction to how short my hair was going to go. And then I the next day I actually went to the barber and I said, "Hey, razor blade this. I want to see what it looks like."
Yeah.
And he took a straight razor and he shaved it all off. And I looked at it and I went, "Huh." I said, "That's not so bad." And I felt it and I was like, "Ooh, it feels kind of nice."
Yeah.
and I looked around and I looked all over and I was like, you know what? I'm okay with this. And then I thought about it and I was like, okay. And so for the next couple of days, I kept up with it. I kept it as short as humanly possible.
Yeah.
I didn't really know about razors. Actually, a little shout out to you here.
Oh, yeah.
I looked in your links and unfortunately you have UK affiliate links, so I couldn't use your affiliate link, but I found the oh crap! It's the ball head one with the mock or the orange.
Oh, a wet razor. Yeah, the Gillette. Is it a Gillette one?
I think it's the 5-blade one.
Yeah, there's a few on there.
I mean, it has like an orange ball in it. It like helps to like flex it.
The Gillette Fusion, probably. Fusion.
That's it. The Fusion. Yeah, the Fusion Pro Glide. So I bought one razor before I saw your links, and then it was a little uncomfortable to shave it.
Yeah.
And I got yours, and I actually got the one with the vibrating handle.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And oh god, that thing! I sat in the shower and I shaved my own head, and it took me 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And you know what? There was something about the process of doing it that felt amazing.
Yeah, I've talked about this before actually, and I was wondering if it was just me, but when you like, just because you don't have hair, still, like, when you shave your head and you use a nice razor and you can like try a few different creams or whatever, and when you find those products that are really good and you enjoy them, you're still taking care of yourself, you're still taking care of your look, and it feels brilliant.
If you know what it felt like I was back at the barber.
Yeah.
It felt like I was going to the barber, but I was doing it myself.
Yeah.
So I was getting that fulfillment of going and doing something to my hair. And now every 2 days, I feel it and I go, oh, okay, it's about time. And I just hop in the shower at night or in the morning, depending on, when I shaved it last. And every 2 days I go in there and I have all the different products that I use. I have my sensitive, stuff because I'm a sensitive, very pale person. Yeah. And, I just go in there and I shave it. It takes about 3 minutes. And you know what? That whole 3 minutes is the most cathartic 3 minutes of my life. Yeah. Like, I know that sounds really weird, but it just feels so nice to get out of that shower, fully shaved, and then put like some stuff on it afterwards. And then you're like, okay, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
And once I got to that point, I started to go out of the house and I wouldn't wear hats. I forced myself. I said, Tristan, you're going to the supermarket. Don't wear a hat.
Yeah.
Tristan, you're going to the, gym. Don't wear a bandana. Tristan, you're going, somewhere, you're going to your family's house. Don't wear a hat. Like, what are you doing? And I just forced myself. I just wouldn't pack them. And so I had to have my head out. And the more I did that, the more I started to come to an understanding of, yeah, this is me. And then the more I saw myself with no hair, and the more I saw myself in the mirrors that I passed by, and the more people saw me with it, and the more, I had family members when I went down to the beach this summer. They went to me and they went, hey, I just want to tell you this. I like this more than your crazy hairstyles. Like, I like it with this shaved look. She's like, I liked your hairstyles, but I think you look better this way. And I think that there's two reasons that happened. The first reason is I actually do think that this is a cool look for me. But the second reason I think is that I accepted it.
Right.
And I felt more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of she felt it. You know what I mean? Like, it was. Yeah. And like the email I sent you was before I had actually gotten into the whole routine of actually shaving it fully. And I remember the last line, and I have it up here, but the last line of that article was it was talking about the whole thing, and the last line I wrote was, even sharing this is tough because I have to admit it's real.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where the defining moment came for me, is when I actually admitted that it was real.
Yeah.
And if I could give any advice to anyone who's going to shave their head, is that you're going to feel weird for a little bit. You're not going to feel maybe like yourself for a little bit. Yeah, for some people it's like an instant relief, right? But for some people it's going to be like, who is that in the mirror? I don't recognize this person. And it's going to take time. And you just kind of have to force yourself out of your comfort zone. And you have to force yourself, like I did, even if you're just going to the grocery store. Don't wear the hat, and just go and just be who you are. And so what? Your hair isn't there. Okay. Nobody cares. And then you find that balance of, how do I make this a routine? How do I make this part of who I am now? And now I have more pictures of me with no hair, and I have more pictures of and more videos of me with no hair. And to be honest, like, I'm a big fan, and I'm really happy that I did it, because especially when I set up for a YouTube video or something like that, I don't have to worry at all. I don't have to think about where's my hat. I don't have to think about, what are my angles. I just turn on the camera and here I am. And I don't worry about the hair. I don't worry about what you may or may not see. I don't worry about what I'll see when I'm editing. I just worry about the content, and I worry about what I want to talk about, and about who I am, and about, my personality. And the hair, as much as society likes to define who we are by our hairstyles, and big proof of that with online dating. Online dating is just stupid anyway. But first of all, the biggest, the funniest thing, and I think it actually helped me to want to shave my head more.
Right.
Was I matched with this person, and I had a picture of, I like to actually keep my profile real.
Yeah.
So if I shave my head, I'm gonna put a picture of me with a shaved head. And so I put up a picture, and I was like, I just shaved my head. And the girl writes to me. This is the first message she writes. She goes, "You're bald. Ew."
Yeah.
And then she unmatched me.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, that message alone made me just want to be like, yeah, all right. I'm good with shaving my head. If that's the kind of person that's going to judge me when I shave my head and I feel better about myself and who I am, that's the type of person I don't want in my life. And if embracing what this is helps me to stay away from those types of people, then I'm all for it. And I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like call that person out or shame them or anything. It's just you understand the feeling that goes along with that, where it's like you just it just validated the idea of something that I was having trouble validating myself, because it brings out it can sometimes bring out the worst and the best in people when
Yeah.
you shave your head, and you learn a lot about yourself.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and it's just so important to be comfortable with yourself, and like I've said multiple times, I can grow my hair back out. I
Mm.
can. I just at this point I don't want to.
No, because you explained there about the comfort that you have with it now, not having to worry about that. And if you do grow it out, you'll almost be back in that position, maybe picking up those bad habits and things like that, maybe.
Yeah, and
um
you know what? You learn to like find, you learn to like I have a style, right? Like I have a clothing style and everything, and it matched my hair, right? It used to match what I looked like. Um, as you're transitioning, you're gonna find that you're gonna have to transition a couple things. You're gonna have to transition your style a little bit too.
yeah, yeah,
I've bought different stuff. Like I hate jeans. I just don't like them. I refuse to wear them. And so I
yeah.
found a Chinese company that makes fake stretchy jeans.
Oh,
They
awesome.
look like jeans, but they are actually essentially yoga pants.
Yeah, and actually
And
come.
they're the most comfortable things
Yeah,
ever. And if you shave your head and you wear a black shirt with like a hoodie and some nice ripped jeans, you look awesome.
yeah,
But I hated jeans, so I found the middle ground, right?
awesome. Yeah,
And it's just and it made me feel good about myself, because it was like, I'm adapting to what I've been dealt. And anybody who judges you off of something that you have zero control over is crazy. Like, and
yeah,
that's what I thought was happening. I thought people were sitting there going, "Oh, look at him. He's losing his hair. He must be so old." Nobody cares. I've taught kids at Columbia University, high school kids that came in for a class, and I rewatched the video and I made a lot of old jokes on myself. It was
yeah,
it was right when I had shaved, right, and so I just felt like maybe that I looked older.
yeah.
No one reacted to any of the jokes I made about my age, because nobody was looking at me like I was some old guy. They just was looking at me as someone that shaved their head.
Yeah.
The young kids actually cared less than I think the older people do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been a hell of a road. And your channel and a lot of your suggestions for like the products and stuff were very, very helpful, and I'm very grateful for what you're doing here, because um not only are you giving people a platform to tell their stories, you're giving a place for people that don't necessarily want to get up in front of a camera and talk, somewhere to listen and to go, hey, uh, that's what's happening to me.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
and that's important, because like you said, when I met that guy who also had some balding before I shaved, man, we just became best friends immediately. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
almost like if you were to do an analogy for how it feels, I would use the analogy of going to rehab.
Yeah.
And you don't realize, when you're a junkie, or you're an alcoholic or something like that, you don't realize you have a problem, right? You're like, nobody else is going through this the same way that I'm going through it. And then you go to rehab, and all these people have these stories that are exactly like yours,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you go, oh my gosh, I can change my life. Right. So I know it's like this crazy, like, okay, you're going bald, but you're not addicted to, morphine. Right. But it's
Yeah.
that same community feel. And it's that same, you learn something about yourself when you can talk to others.
Definitely. I think there's a lot of people out there, like you said, who maybe similarly they don't have family members or they don't have friends that are going through it, or at least don't have friends who are going to be open and admit that they're going through it, because I think of it too. There's actually a lot more people who are suffering from losing their hair and are struggling to deal with it, but they're sort of covering it up and they don't really want to address it because then it's real. And so all of these people are sort of feeling the same and then not coming together and having those conversations. And I think, you know, just like you are now sharing this story and this channel, what it's become, gives people access to that community, like you said. And so I've got to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, which is just so relatable personally for me as well. You know, a lot of the things that you mentioned, you know, I always think, you know, I would look good in a suit, but I just don't like wearing suits. You know, I like my comfortable clothes and things like that. And I've had loads of people ask me, you know, they say to me, even after they've done it, they might message me and say, I've shaved my head, but I hate it. Like, how do I be confident with this? You know, and I think, as you said there, not everyone is going to have that. You might feel relief, and I'm sure most people do feel that relief, but they're still comparing what they look like now in the mirror to who they were, you know, 3 or 4 years ago. And
you still have that hope too, right? You're still hanging on to that hope that, oh, maybe something will fix it. Maybe that cure will come out. Maybe the dermatologist has told me that there will be the cure. Maybe that'll be tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's like, why wait for tomorrow when you can just handle the shit today?
Yeah.
And you know, look, if I were to say one more thing, it's that society is a piece of shit. And I say this because we're not accepting of the aging process, right? We are the only species on this planet that understands that we're going to die and that we age and what comes along with that. But we have the strangest ways of holding on to youth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this, and it's just, it's like, what? So it's as I've got, I couldn't understand this when I was younger. And I couldn't understand it before I started to lose hair, right? Like there's just certain things as you get older that you cannot understand until you actually get there.
Yeah.
And like your parents will tell you that when you're a kid, right? Where I am now, you soon will be, you know, that kind of stuff. And you just, you look at them like, you're crazy. And then you get there and you're like, oh, holy crap, they were right.
Yeah.
And it just comes.
The thing you mentioned there, you know, and it's not just, you know, hair loss is a big one, but in all areas, people are afraid of this natural process of getting older. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it doesn't feel good, but it happens to every single person, you know, on this planet, right? It happens to everyone. So why not everyone just be honest about it and share that, you know, like you did with that guy, right? Share that moment, like, oh, you know, this is happening to me. Oh, my eyes are getting bad. Yeah, me too. Or you know, when instead people go do the complete opposite and just cover it up, you know, and that's not happening to me. Oh yeah, that's not happening to me either. You know, there's a moment where people could actually come together, right? Everyone's just running in opposite directions. It is crazy.
Yeah. And it's just, you know, right now that I've accepted it, now that I've, you know, now that my hair is gone and I, you know, and I look forward to like the new razor blade. I look forward to changing it out. I look forward to finding some new products for, you know, the aftershave or like something that smells nice. And, you know, I like to lay down on my pillow after I'm done shaving because it feels nice. And and just to reiterate for anybody that, you know, needs it, like you may not feel it right away. It doesn't happen overnight. It took me 2 years. When the email I sent you, I wrote that 2 years before now.
Yeah.
So it took me quite a bit of time to come to grips with it and be good with it.
Yeah.
But now I'm 100% good with it. Like I am so good with it now that I actually look forward to getting my photo taken because I'm like, oh, cool. Now I have new photos. This is me now. And I can't wait to like show people, look, this is me now. This is what I look like. This is the new me.
And don't you feel like you're almost untouchable in that mind frame? It's like just a complete contrast to maybe where you were, the Rogaine stage or the different hairstyle stage. Like when you're at the place where you are at now, and like you said, it's a process to get there, but when you finally get there, I feel like you do feel untouchable. And especially when, I don't know about you, but in your career and stuff, like you said, when you're filming your videos and things like that, rather than maybe before you wouldn't have concentrated on, how can I make this content more valuable for people, or how can I make sure this lighting is good, things like that actually matter. Whereas before, all of that mental energy that you need to focus on those things would have been, I need my hair, or how's this hair looking, or during the editing process would have been, are there any moments where you can kind of see the back of my head, rather than like, what content am I delivering and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was about vanity at that point, and it's so funny because I just filmed something where a guy was doing behind the scenes, and he did this walking scene. We're walking down New York streets, and he's behind us, and I didn't even think to look at my head. Yeah, like it was gone. Like the fear was gone. I was just like, oh, that's a cool shot. Let me use that. Yeah. And I can't tell you how freeing that feels. And like I was really looking forward to getting on this talk with you, because what you heard in my email was 2 years ago Tristan, and today Tristan is so like different than what that write-up was. I'd love if you shared that link like to the write-up so that people can get like a feel for what I felt, what it was.
100%. Yeah, it's a really good read, a really interesting read, and I'm sure after they've read that, then, or after they've seen this video and then to read that, it makes this discussion that we've had here even more powerful, really.
Yeah, it's just the transformation and everything in my brain, and like even having that talk with my dad, where my dad calls me 3 days ago, right before you called me, which is so weird, but he calls me and he goes, oh, I heard about Rogaine, and I was, I talked to my hairstylist about it, and he's trying to like relate to me, and he totally likes it, and he gets it, and he understands what I went through. It's just really cool, and it feels good, and I feel good, and it's just that's what matters. And all those polls that I did, and all those, look at this and then look at that, and tell me which one you like. That, while it was for me, it wasn't. It was for everybody else. And once I realized that, it really made the decision easier.
Yeah. I think that's a great place really to sum it up. I was going to ask you to sum this all up, to the person listening or the person watching, if you had to put it all down into one piece of your best advice, would it be to stop, find a way to stop focusing on what these other people are thinking about you, and really reflect on, what you yourself, think of you in the situation?
I mean, in the end, it really comes down to, and it's so cliche. It just feels cliche even thinking about it. It really does come down to, how do you feel when you look in the mirror? And like I said, when you first shave, you may not feel that good. But you can teach yourself some cool stuff. But you gotta admit that you did it, and you gotta go out and submit yourself to being seen like that.
Challenge yourself.
You gotta take the hats off. You gotta just push it, and get some pictures taken of yourself. Have some friends take some shots of you when you're out with your friends and your buddies drinking or something, and just see how you look, and you're gonna get used to yourself.
Yeah.
And then that's you, and that's the important part. It's you, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says, because the most important part is that if you don't feel comfortable in your own body, in your own skin, like if you think you feel better with wispy pieces of hair on your head, keep them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you think that you really hate the shave that much, then okay, go back to where you were. But if you can feel better with no hair, and you feel more free, then do that too. Like, there shouldn't be any judgment either way. You should be able to make the decision and the choice for yourself, but just give the choice some time, because for me, it was so hard. That's what it needed, was time.
and for me, that's the key part that you mentioned, is for yourself. I think when guys are looking at, the ways to sort of stop the hair loss, whether it's transplants or the drugs and things like that, so many times I really think it's because they're thinking like, okay, what are other people going to think of me if I don't have hair? So how can I stop that and keep, the hair how it is now? But that isn't because they think, they might think themselves, oh, if I have a shaved head, like me, myself, like I'm not worried. Like I'm neither here nor there. But what are other people going to think, and that's the main thing. You've got to do this for yourself. And like you mentioned, whatever the best thing is for you, do that, but make sure you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah. You know what it is?
Yeah.
You know what it is?
But,
you're not the Rock. You're not Jason Statham, right? You're not a superstar, okay? And you're never going to be that. And you're never going to be that. And whenever someone says, "Oh, just shave your head," look at the sexiest men in the world with billions of dollars. Fuck them. Like, you're not those people. So be who you are and find the look that you like, and that's it. And if you have no choice and your hair's coming out, that's you, believe it or not. Yeah. And that's all there is to it. And that makes you a badass, that it's you, because it's you. And that, like, we're all unique humans. And in this world, I'm a photographer, and I refuse to do body morphing via Photoshop. That's actually part of my business model. Right. And I'm sitting here trying to find the best angles when I had my hair loss, and trying to morph myself when my business model is, I won't modify your body because you're beautiful as you are. And then I'm sitting here and I'm going, oh God, I look terrible and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, what? Listen to your own words, Tristan. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. You just got to be your true self, whoever that is, whatever that is, be your true self. And honestly, that is the beauty of when you're at the place that you're in now. You've found that, and I've done the same thing. And a lot of people we've had on this channel that we have in common, after we've shaved our heads and we've, been through that process, learn more about ourselves, what's really important to me, because I was wasting time worrying about the hair. I stripped that away. Now I have this mental space to focus on what I really love to do, who I want to be. And when you find that, your true self, it's just peace. It's a beautiful time. And I think that's really what it comes down to, the beauty of it.
Yeah, it's just to have that calm that comes along with not worrying about looking down at my desk and seeing little hairs on it, or catch a glimpse of my thinner hair over here versus over here, and just it's so nice. And it's just I did a public speaking thing the other day, and I stood up at this pedestal, and I just felt so strong, because I wasn't, but I was conscious that I had no hair. Like, I actually went up to the podium with this approach of, man, I shaved my head today. Like I was like, I shaved my head. I don't have the crazy hair right now, and I'm talking to these people. All right, let's own this. And I just felt good about it, and I felt good about me, and then my presentation was better, and
love it. So fantastic. Tristan, listen, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this story. We'll put links to your original email that you sent me, the original story, so go check out that. I'll link your YouTube channel in here as well. And I've got to thank you. A very relatable story, like I mentioned earlier. And this is what makes Baldcafe, the place that it is. So if anyone's watching and listening, I really hope that you found Tristan's story relatable, helpful. Reach out to me, reach out to Tristan. I'm sure he'll be there to answer any questions. Get in the comments section. And gotta thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Tristan, thank you so much. We'll see you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see you again very soon.
Run fast and don't stop at the edge. You can be